Hey everybody, welcome back to Outpost Gray. If this is your first time here, welcome. It's great to see James. So glad that you're back. Carrie, love the dad jokes. Jess, awesome. You guys are the best. Thank you guys for showing up. For all of the new individuals that are showing up, just to let you know, Outpost Gray, well, this is the place that you want to be, first off. And secondly, it's a YouTube channel designed to provide you information in cybersecurity, technology, and innovation. And I'm your host, Jack Scott. And all of the information that you receive on this channel is of my opinions. It is not the opinions of Grant Thornton. Outpost Gray is in partnership with Grant Thornton, which is really exciting. And we're able to provide you information through fireside chats, one-on-one interviews, and panels. And today we're doing a one-on-one discussion. And I'm really, really excited about it because we're going to be talking about a subject that I think is critical in the digital space and where we're at today. And the person that we have, the guest that we have on the show is, I couldn't think of a better person. You guys might know we were supposed to have a different guest, and Ken actually told me on Monday that he could step in, and I was so excited. So Ken Underhill, you're going to learn everything about him today. He is the founder of CyberLife TV. We're going to learn about some of the projects that he has kicking off. He has a massive social media following. And so today we're going to dig into branding as a skill. How do you leverage branding? Why is it important? And can you really use branding to change your life? And I think you can. And we're going to learn more about that today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get Ken on the show. Welcome. How you doing? Little bicep. Yeah. I was waiting for you to like.
Oh, do the gun show. What? You know, I have to say, Jax, all I could think about with the music, you know, the intro music was Chris Cochran. I don't know if you know him, just doing like some dance moves. So if the audience isn't familiar with Chris Cochran, if you don't know about his dance moves, just Google search or search on YouTube. You'll see what I'm talking about with that.
I loved Chris Cochran. He passed away, didn't he? Is he still alive?
Oh gosh, he's still alive. Gosh, as far as I know. Chris, let us know.
Yeah, they're dropping like flies. I don't know.
No, someone else. I think I forget who. I think his name was Mike, maybe.
Maybe.
So someone passed away recently, though.
Yeah, we've had a lot of those deaths lately. Oh my gosh. So what's this background that you have going on right here?
I'm in space. I can't tell people where because then they'll hack the spaceship and then it'll bring me back to Earth, and I don't want that. So it's less chaotic up here.
I like it. That actually looks, is that a green screen or is that actually a sheet?
So audience members, post in the chat, let us know what you think it is. And Jax, let me know what they're guessing. Is it an actual green screen? Is it just like a sheet or something behind me? Am I really in outer space?
Yeah.
What's the deal with all that?
I mean, the headset in the chair, you could easily be in outer space.
Right? You have to be comfortable. It's important to be comfortable.
Who needs the oxygen? None of that. And you're not floating. It's because you're strapped into your chair right now.
I'm so full of excitement for this episode that it keeps me grounded. So it's a backdrop. I'll spoil that. I don't know what's going on in the chat, but spoiler alert, it is a backdrop. And
Carrie thinks you're really in space.
Yeah, Carrie, I really am. Yeah, go with that. We'll go with that.
And Jess also thinks you're really in outer space. Wow. We've got a lively group. I love it. It's a sheet. It is a sheet. I could tell. I thought I could tell. I was like, it's either a green screen that has like the wrinkles in it and the graphic you can see. I couldn't. Yeah.
So interesting. I've got another one of these. This one's kind of shorter. That's why you see, I think, a little bit of the edges where you can tell that it's just a backdrop. But I've got one in my home studio that's like the entire wall. So you really can't tell. So you don't know, is he really in space or not?
Yeah, I like it. All right, Ken, tell us a little about yourself, like a brief intro, because I want to really dive into a few things. But I think for the individuals that may not know who you are, if you could just share your background, how you got into where you're at today.
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me on the show. It's a pleasure. We know a lot of the same people, so I jumped at the opportunity to come hang out with you a bit. So for me, I started out, actually came from a healthcare background, medic and nursing, did pediatric nursing for many years, working with little babies with critical care stuff. Moved into more of the traditional IT route is kind of where I came into cyber from. So I did IT, networking, network security, moved into analyst roles, eventually into pen testing, and eventually found myself into more of the management, executive management, finding my own stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And I've been creating online courses for a number of years, which is where a lot of people know me from.
And share a little bit about Cyber Life TV.
Yeah, so it's been a couple years now that I had the opportunity to have my own television show. I had started a podcast in around the Black Hat time in 2019 before COVID hit. And based off that, I had the opportunity. Someone asked, "You want a TV show?" So I said yes, of course. And then I was in my head, I was like, I got to figure out like what to actually do for this thing. So it's been a journey. It's a lot different doing a television show than it is doing like a podcast or anything else. There's a lot more stuff that's involved in that, but we've grown quite a bit. Right now, we've got about 2 million or so monthly viewers. It's a syndicated show. It's in over 100 channels globally. It's a streaming TV show, so you can find it on the Binge Networks app, on like Amazon, Roku, etc. So it's been great, and it's really a great way for your brand. I'm not saying everyone should get a TV show. By the way, there's a lot of cost involved with that, a lot of investment. It's not cheap, but I will say that the more you do, regardless of what the medium is, the better it's going to help you in your career and in your life.
100%. Yeah. So TV show. I don't even own a TV. This is my living room. I have a 900 square foot apartment. It's pretty small. You're literally looking at about half of my house right now. Nice. So I don't have a TV. I don't watch TV. I sometimes will stream stuff on Netflix. So like running a TV station or having a TV show, not a TV station, but a TV show seems very daunting because like everything you have to script it, right? You're going to need you script it a little bit and then the edits, and then you've got to edit everything. And do you have a team that helps you do all of this, or do you do all of it yourself?
So yeah, the scripting part I do myself because right now the show is kind of more of an interview format, right? Kind of like we're doing now, right? Where I get someone on and we do that route. Where I'm taking the show, it kind of requires a little more TLC on the scripting. And I'm just not in the place yet where I feel comfortable hiring professional screenwriters, because I've hired some and they just didn't meet up to what I was looking for. On the editing side, yes, I always try to have help, but I always find that I always have to do a little more polishing on what I get back from video editors. And it doesn't matter their level. I mean, I've had kind of more entry level people. I've had professional firms that have done work for Hollywood movies, and people still mess it up. Mm-hmm. So just, with the TV show, I'm still kind of in the developing stage of it. We're still growing, and I'm really heavily involved in that. And, if you will, in the day to day, I haven't fully stepped out of that stuff yet. Mostly because I want to control the quality really well.
I'm going to pull this up really quick. And while I do that, we actually have another question. I have to show it. This made me laugh, Lola, because he said, I love your background. Is it available for Zoom and or Google Meets?
So this particular backdrop behind me was like $30 on Amazon. So you could just search for backdrop on Amazon and search for whatever picture you want. You should be able to find it.
She wants that background. She loves it. I love it.
Nice. Yeah. So the reason, to your question, Lola, the reason why I just went with this backdrop instead of trying to change my image is because I got tired of going Teams to Zoom I was just like, oh, I'm so tired of trying to figure out what works. And then half the time it doesn't work on Teams, as we all know.
Yep.
So I just put this up, and it's so much easier. And it's such a great conversation piece when you get on a Zoom call and you have this, like everybody else has a standard stuff.
Yeah.
So it's such a great conversation starter. I encourage any business owner out there, get something like this, have a Zoom call with a prospect, and just see where the conversation goes.
Do you by chance know the name of it?
I think I just searched like space backdrop or something, or
if you find it, Lola, drop it in the chat for us. If you like, she's going to go OSINT this.
Yeah. I was about to say, Lola, use those OSINT skills. This is what you trained for.
Yeah.
this moment right here.
She's like, mission accepted. I love it. Okay. So let's pivot back to Cyber Life. Let's talk about this a little bit more. And then we'll pivot more into like the overall branding talk, but this is branding. This is your brand, is Cyber Life. And I'd love to just share kind of what you're doing in this space. I really like the graphics up here. So with branding, it's all about appeal. It's all about a story. So when you built this website, what was the story? What were you wanting to, for your individuals that were coming here, what did you want to tell them? when they saw it?
Yeah, I mean, number one, I like clean websites personally, and I hate clutter in websites, not in my office space. If I look around, if I spun my camera around, you'd be like, oh my gosh, look at all those books. But here, the real message is this is for everyone, right? This is a place to come for any learning that you need. So we do both corporate and, of course, individual training. The why there just shares a story from a past student that I had. So this student was in Bangladesh, and I'll give the high level, but you can go to the website cyberlife.tv and read in depth. But basically, this student was in Bangladesh, couldn't afford a $10 course I had. Everyone, like, if you've ever created courses or anything in life, if you ever have a business, there's so many people that reach with their hand out, like, gimme, gimme, gimme. And you just get so tired of that, right? And I had that so much creating online courses. But this guy was different. He was in Bangladesh. He actually said, hey, I can't, it's like a month's salary for me. I'm skeptical, right? And I'm a cyber guy. So I looked it up, and yeah, $10 US at the time was a monthly salary on average for people there. And so I gave him the course for free. Long story short, he took it, he went through it, and he ended up getting a job as a forensic investigator. And because of that, he was able to send his two young daughters to school. I think they were in grade school or whatever, but apparently in other countries, you have to pay for people to go to school. So we're very fortunate here in the US. So that's a long story short of that about there. I've been training for a long time. A lot of my content's in other platforms. So we're actually in process of bringing in and building out all that training I've done over the years in one spot that we own. So with that, I think that's a good segue into what we're launching here in a couple of weeks, the Cyber Life School, which is going to be, and I'll talk about the TV show in a second, but Cyber Life School is a pay what you can model. For those that don't know what that means, that may, like a name sounds, if you can't afford it, there'll be a coupon that you can take it for free. All the training on there, with the exception of some of the CERT training. I'm working with some of the CERT bodies right now to kind of see what that looks like, if I'm allowed to do that or if I have to charge, whatever for their official training. But just know that even if I have to charge for official, like CompTIA, for example, training, I'll develop a unofficial without their name anywhere on it that will train you the same way that you can take for free, because it's all about democratizing education. Yep. The other aspect there, of course, the TV show, and we've kind of chatted about that, but the TV show, I really wanted to give a place for individuals that are typically, for lack of better words, punished by algorithms on social media because they come from a certain background or they look a certain way, they have a certain name or whatever, and give them a place to actually share their voice with the world without the biased algorithms, because my distribution is not touched by YouTube or anything with this TV show.
Yeah, and this actually is a great segue for what Carrie asked a little bit earlier, and he asked you, when is the Cyber Life School open? He'd actually asked this before we even dug into this, so he already knew.
Nice. Yeah. So, and Carrie, by the way, Carrie and I chatted the other day. I'm going to look at your resume actually tonight. I had a few other things this week, so just know I'll look at your resume in depth tonight, Carrie. But yeah, the Cyber Life School is launching May 16th. Now, that won't have all we've got over 70 courses or so in the pipeline. Not all of those are coming out in 2 weeks, but there'll be a couple of courses. One of those actually around personal branding, what we're talking about today. So that'll be out along with a couple of like introductory, and there's some other instructors that have free courses out there that have volunteered their content to put up as well. So people can just take it, they're at the Cyber Life School. So I will say, for content creators out there, if you've got free courses that you want to share and you want to be able to have your brand on another channel, because Cyber Life School, we're going to run we've got marketing and all that stuff. Just let me know, reach out to me. And of course, I'm going to look at your content, make sure it's not crap, but I'll look at your content, and more than likely we'll put it up and it'll be free for the world. We don't have an option right now if you're looking for pay, like to sell your course on the Cyber Life School, but just know that will come in later. That will be an option later. But right now, just free. If you want to give back to people, that's the place to do it.
My gosh, I will definitely be reaching out to you once I can get one of my courses, because I can't monetize anything because of where I work. It's a part of the agreement. But I want to give back, and I love developing content. I really want to get into teaching it, and that's a different platform than just delivering content. It's actually delivering a structural framework to the content that you're delivering. Okay, so let's pivot in to branding specific questions around branding as a skill. When we first talked, we talked a little bit on the pre-show yesterday and came up with some really good ideas that we were going to chat about today. And one of the things that I want to pivot into, I'm pulling up my notes right now, was about your brand, and kind of starting there and then growing, because everybody needs a why for their brand. And because otherwise you're not going to grow to the level that you are at right now and the successes that you're having. So when you were building your brand, was this something that was an intentional thing? Did you already have your why in place, or did it start to happen and then you started developing that why and that foundation behind your brand?
Yeah, so I never thought to build a personal brand. What I did instead is my focus was I want to help others. And that was my laser focus. And that arose for some early courses I had on like general health. There was a guy named Miguel. I don't know his last name. I can't remember exactly where he lived. I think it was Spain or something. But he took the health course. He was in the hospital, just had a liver transplant, almost died. I mean, the doctors basically told him, your body's rejecting the liver. You've got less than 6 months. And in about 6 months, his daughter was supposed to graduate high school. And so he searched online, long story short, found my course, took it, applied the knowledge. And I didn't know anything about this, but about 6 months later, he sent me the message right after he watched his daughter walk across the stage. And so that made an impact on me. And I was like, okay, cool. Even though there's all this hate mail from others that are just, total haters and jerks online, there's people out there. Even if I help one more Miguel in the world, I'm doing the right thing. So that's how I started with getting on LinkedIn and just sharing everything I could, trying to help people, etc. That kind of blossomed into a lot of opportunities because I built up the personal brand. I didn't, like I said, I wasn't even focused on me, and I still don't really focus on me at all. I still focus on just helping others. But it led to a lot of opportunities. I mean, there's a book that several of us just wrapped up. It's led to speaking engagements. It, of course, led to the TV show, led to the podcast idea years ago, led to more courses, and just building some really, really good connections and being able to build real relationships with a lot of senior level people and executive level people where I can literally make a phone call and get someone a job. Not saying that I can get you a job if you're watching this right now, but I've been able to do that in the past where the right person, I can make that connection, and my word saying, hey, this person's good, actually carries weight. Mm-hmm. So it's been a great journey so far. And I think everyone should build a personal brand for some of those same reasons. The other thing I'll say is that if you build your personal brand, it makes you a lot more valuable to companies. Mm-hmm. If they see you've got a personal brand, a following, there's just an assumption that your personal brand will be loyal to that company, or your following will be loyal to that company. So you're more likely to get the job versus somebody else. You're more likely to get employers tracking you down, chasing you down, offering you opportunities. And you'll find that it's so much easier because instead of what I like to call farming versus fishing, right? You can fish like everybody else and apply to 1,000 jobs and hope for the best and get 400 certifications and 96 years of Kubernetes and all these other stupid requirements on these entry-level jobs. Or you can invest the next 90 days building your personal brand, connect with the right people, build real relationships. And then in 90 days, you may have your dream job. In fact, for a lot of people, it happens in a couple of weeks for many of people I'm connected to, as opposed to doing what everyone else is doing with the fishing part. You could farm instead of fish, right? So if you do the fishing, it might be a year or two before you find something. If you do the farming aspect of it, you plant the right seeds, you nurture those seeds, you may find yourself in a matter of weeks or a month or two with your dream job.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I have to let you know really quick because Lola is cracking me up. So she found the link. It's really long. And because LinkedIn, it limits the characters. She's like, she said right here, she said, YouTube censors my character limit. So I went to where it was unlimited, but that is the backdrop that's your backdrop, by the way, that she found. Nice. Just had to share that with you.
Nice.
Yeah. So back to value though. And one thing I want to talk about on that I think is really important is you said a few things. One was the fishing analogy, and something that I've learned in my own path of building my brand is that when you start like publishing a book last year and you start doing more speaking engagements, first off, people start coming to you for speaking engagements. Like you said, you don't have to submit to RSA because they're going to reach out to you because they know that your content is good because it's a small community, A, but B, they've probably caught one of your talks, or they can pull up one of your talks on your YouTube or, whatever media that you're using at that point in time. So I think, and I want your opinion on this. Do you think that there is another additional value having that brand? Not only are people coming towards you, but it's also a tool when your brand is to a certain level. that you could use that as a negotiation technique to help you even increase your salary range, because you might not have the highest level of expertise in a particular job, but because you have a brand, you can leverage a higher salary.
Yeah, 100% agree with that statement. And the way I would approach it inside of a job interview, if they're pushing back on the salary, the other thing is don't always focus just on salary. You might get RSUs or restricted stock units or stock options or whatever. Maybe you can negotiate more vacation time, or there's all these areas you can play with. So when you walk into any negotiation for a job, you want to say, okay, well, what is that minimum salary I'm going to take or I'm going to walk, right? And you need to be firm on that number. And I'll say this in particular for any minorities watching: whatever number you have in your head right now, tack on 40%, and that's the number you say to them. Because oftentimes I found individuals that are minorities or come from a disadvantaged background, you don't feel comfortable asking for your worth. You typically lowball it, and these companies don't care about you. I'm sorry to say that, but they don't care about you at all. You're not family or anything else that they always try to sell you on. So you need to take control of your own life and your own finances and add 40% to that. So with that being said, when you go into these negotiations, you don't, it's not really, I don't want to say you don't have to negotiate, but usually it's like your brand's already spoken for you. So the interview, instead of it being a typical interview, at least at good companies, it's more of a conversation like Jackson and I are having now, right? It's kind of like, hey, casual, and the interview and the resume and all those things are just a formality that HR requires. And you're pretty much already in there, right? As long as the numbers make sense to everybody. But when you're negotiating, you want to always have that firm number that like you're going to walk away, and you have to walk away. Sometimes the company just can't pay you what you want, and that's fine. Another company will. But maybe if you've got some wiggle room, you can say, okay, well, you seem firm on that, Jax. What if we build in an extra week of vacation each year? Or maybe I can take, maybe I can have Friday afternoons off, right? Or something like that, right? There's always something to negotiate there. But yeah, 100% your personal brand will, number one, usually skip the resume process altogether. It's usually just a formality that they need to send out to HR as part of the process. And also with your with the interview itself, it's typically literally, and I'm saying this from experience on a lot of interviews after I built up my brand, is it's just a formality. It turns into a conversation instead of an interview, where you're just talking to someone, and it's so much nicer to do that and have that conversation versus trying to like, tell me about yourself. Like they already know about you, right? Because you built your personal brand. And to your point, Jax, yeah, conferences will reach out to you. A lot of organizations will reach out to you. If you're ever thinking of starting a business, your personal brand is critical. Nobody cares about your company at all. No one cares about the CyberLife company. Not at all. They care about Ken, right?
Yeah.
If I wasn't tied to CyberLife, nobody would care about the show or anything. Yep. So they care about you as a person, because these days people are so tired of companies that just slam their buy my widget down their throat, right? They want to talk to a human. They want to relate to you. They want to hear your stories and how you can help them and things like that. So your personal brand is so critical to all aspects of your life, not just a job search.
Yeah, and that is actually a perfect segue into a question that Lola posed about the personal side. It's a two-part because she provided context, but she was asking, do you find any value in basing personal branding on something else besides professional skills? And then she provided context, and she said, basically, she's been advised to base her branding on her personal brand of life and her life experiences, but she is failing to understand the value for career growth. And
yeah. So I'll give an example for myself. So I shared, this is, I don't know, months ago or whatever, maybe even last year, but I'd shared a post. It was some rundown trailer I found on Canvas, not the one I actually grew up in, but I grew up in a trailer, rundown, very, very, very poor. I mean, a lot of times I didn't have food growing up. One time several times in like the fourth grade, I'd stuff my lunch sack with socks because I didn't have food. So that way the teachers wouldn't know that I didn't have food, but one of them caught on and started bringing me lunch. But anyways, I didn't realize that so many people in cybersecurity and IT grew up in trailers, right? Like I didn't realize that so many people had a similar story as me. They were called trailer trash. People didn't want to talk to them because they were too poor or whatever. And they were hand-me-downs and whatnot. But I did that post, more for myself, just saying, hey, let me just share a little bit of my story. And that resonated with so many people. I think that post, I don't know, 70, 80,000, maybe 100,000 views. And I mean, like hundreds or thousands of comments or whatever. Just so many people, it helped them share their story too, right? They thought nobody else was like that. So to your point, Lola, or to your question, yes, your stories are so critical because they allow people that had similar stories or that had a similar background relate to you.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I'll say is that there's people out there that can only get motivated to do a career path or to learn or whatever from you. And I had to get over that when I first started creating courses, because I mean, there's hundreds of people creating the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I put the first course out, and I realized that many people, their feedback was, no one else has explained it like that. I finally understand it because of you, right? Or hey, I relate to what you've done or your journey or whatever. I can finally get this topic. So they both need to be combined. It's not just listing out, look at me, I'm hacking a box or whatever. It needs to be blended in with your personal story. I like to tell people on their LinkedIn profile, like the about section, list out your skills, things like that, right? That recruiters or hiring managers are going to be looking for, show your value to an organization, but also what's a fun fact about you? Like, do you travel a lot? Where do you travel to? Like, what's some of the cool places you've seen? Do you have a cool hobby? Do you sing? I mean, there's people in the industry that tap dance and sing, play guitar, all sorts of things you wouldn't think of. For me, I might, if I listed it there, I in the, I think it was the eighth grade, I built this maze for worms because I didn't have any money, right? So I was like, crap, science fair is tomorrow. I got to come up with something. So I took earthworms, took some dirt and earthworms from the backyard, like glued with wood glue, like scraps of wood and tree bark and stuff like that to make this ghetto looking maze. I wish I had a picture of it. It's so cool when I tell the story if I had a picture. But this really ghetto maze, and I put these worms in it and put the dirt to lead them, in and out of wrong ways and things like that. Basically, if they follow the dirt all the way, they would make it through the maze. And I was in band at the time, so I went and played in the band, came back to check out my project at the science fair, and I had a ribbon because I won second place. And everyone was gathered around my thing, and you had all the kids that parents had money. They had the, those volcanoes, a boom, all that stuff. And one of them won the thing, but everyone was gathered around the worm thing. And people were like cheering them on and stuff like that. Like, yeah, go, go. Like they had named them and stuff. It was really cool, but that's an interesting fact, right? So what I'm saying there is you have interesting things you do or you've done in your life. Those are things that are part of your story, and they should be critical things that you add as part of your personal branding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's because we have another question in here that's a great segue into talking about this, specifically related to developing your brand. Say you've got your brand established. This actually happened to me. A lot of people don't know this. I was really embarrassed about sharing it for a long time. And certain people, I think Kimberly might know about it. My close circle does, but my last job well over a year ago now, I was laid off because of one of the areas of contention was they wanted me to leverage my brand to push their agenda. It was a startup tech firm, so all hands on deck kind of mentality, but it kind of got toxic because they didn't think I was pulling my fair share in a way in certain things because they wanted me to revamp and redo my LinkedIn, like all this stuff to reflect their company instead of my brand. And this wasn't part of my contract. So Jess actually asked a question around this, and I'd love your thoughts on it. She said, what is the best way to firmly but politely turn down people who want you to work for exposure in lieu of pay while they use your brand?
Yeah, so I'll address this two ways. One on the employer side. So number one, not legal advice, I'm not an attorney. Don't say Ken said so in the court of law. That's not going to do any good for you. I do know some hackers that might, but anyways, long story short. But what I will say is that to my knowledge, unless there's been a different ruling under federal employment law here in the US, your employer cannot require you to, unless you sign a contract, but typically speaking for at-will employment, they can't require you to like market their company on your personal brand, right? You don't even have to list them on your profile. Now they can look at your profile and they could say, oh, she's posting, racist things or something. And then they could use that to terminate
Absolutely.
you. But otherwise, because I've dealt with this with, places I've worked in the past where they want to try to get free marketing out of you. And that's all it is. They want to get free marketing out of you. If you don't want to do that, just tell them no. And yes, it's going to, just like Jax, it's going to cause a toxic work environment. So when that happens, you need to be fully prepared that you're going to have to leave that job at some point.
Yeah.
Because they're going to keep going on you and being passive aggressive and just skirting around the law enough where it's tough to sue them. And you have to ask yourself, is it worth my mental health to stay here in this toxic environment, or should I move on? Mm-hmm. The other thing I'm going to add to that, right? So that's the kind of the employee-employer relationship side of things. The other thing there, Jess, is you will get a lot of places reaching out to you. You'll actually get individuals reaching out expecting you to share like their post on social media, and because they want to like, hey, do this or that, right? I ignore all that stuff. Now, I will say this, if it's someone that has been consistently focused on giving value to my audience and trying to give back and stuff like that, and they've done it for a long time, I don't have any hesitation. A good example is Jerry Auger, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's got his GRC masterclass, I think is what he calls it, right? Ooh, Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
But Jerry, I know him very well, and he's been giving back to the community and helping people in so many ways. I've sent people his way that he's helped them, no hesitation, not looking for financial compensation or anything like that. And so when I had seen Jerry was launching his course, guess what? I shared it on my social media to hopefully get more sales and stuff for it, right? Because he's been giving back. The other people, there's a lot of people though that just like send me their blog post or whatever on social media. There's a lot of companies also that will reach out and just share things with me, and they think that I'm going to market that for free. No. The other thing, and I think that's actually a good segue into your personal brand, you can sell it, right? You can be what's called an influencer and get paid for that. So if you build your personal brand effectively, you can have companies pay you X amount of dollars to do like a podcast with them or whatever, right? If you've got a podcast or something, they'll have someone come on your show and interview them and things like that. They may have you write a blog post or something, but you can actually get paid for that. So it's another kind of side hustle, if you will, that you could do as part of your personal branding. Hopefully that answers your question, Jess, but really you just have to learn to say no and be comfortable saying no and understand that there's going to be, no matter what you do in life, even if you said yes to everybody, someone's going to hate you. I mean, I've given back so much to the community, and a lot of people I've sponsored like Try Hack Me vouchers and things for, and 2 months later, those people like block me on social media, right? I have no idea why. I don't know what's going on. I didn't do anything to offend them. They just like, people come and go, right? There's people come in your life for seasons, and they leave for seasons, and you have to be okay with that. And the more you grow in your career, in your personal life, in your wealth or whatever, you just have to be comfortable that some people are not going to like you. And you have to be okay with that, because you need to focus on the people that do like you, the people that do support you, because they really need you, right? And they need you to keep going.
Oh yeah, 100%. I love that. Oh, you're going to have to come up with a better one than that at the end when we do our wrap up.
Oh
That was a
gosh,
good
yeah,
one.
I know. I got the pressure of Oprah now.
Yeah, now you got to step that one up.
Oh my goodness.
So let's talk about actual LinkedIn pages. Let's talk about what is a good, and I'm going to show yours actually. So what does a good one look like? Here is a good one.
This guy's looks terrible, by the way. You should definitely not. So, we'll kind of go through this, and I'll give everyone kind of I think we'll have time. I'll try to be quick. We'll give everyone kind of a masterclass or so on LinkedIn profile. So number one thing you share is a background image. I think everyone should have one, just because traditionally there's like nothing there. It looks kind of gray. So have something, right? You can go in Canvas for free, create an account, create a background image for your LinkedIn, something related to what you want to be known for. This one I had someone do on Fiverr, but you don't need to spend any money. That's the other thing. You don't need to spend any money on your LinkedIn. You don't need the paid version of LinkedIn. I've never had the paid version of LinkedIn in my entire life. So you don't need that. So this is just something that's about you, right? It could be a computer. It could just be computers or something in the background. Doesn't matter too much. For me, it's about the TV show. But the next thing is your headshot photo. So you can do it like, this is me, just like, hey, I'm always thinking about, diversity and, helping people in the industry, things like that. That's what the image entails. But professional headshot, this is actually from a professional photographer, but you don't need that. Again, just get as clean as you can get with like your phone or webcam or something. Try to get like a clean background, like a wall behind you or something, and some good lighting if you can. I understand that not everyone can get all that stuff, right? A lot of people are economically challenged in the world. So do the best you can. Doesn't need to be perfect. The thing you don't want to do is, unless you want to be known for like drinking on the weekend, don't have a picture of you drinking some beers, right? Like, make it professional. It's a professional thing. Think about how would an employer look at your profile, right? And what do you want them to think as they look through this? Next section there is your headline down there. And you see I got my website and things like that in there. For you, I recommend you put, even if you're not employed right now, if you're a student looking for a job, put in there whatever you're open to, right? So see mine's cyberlife.tv, cybersecurity executive, whatever, right? For you, I recommend you put like open to cybersecurity analyst roles or whatever job you're going for. So people know when they see your headline, and when recruiters search for those keywords, it pulls up your headline, right? It pulls up your profile, especially the more you grow your personal brand. So that should always be about what job you're trying to get, some of the value you can add, maybe some of the skills you have in Python or SIM tools, whatever. list that stuff there. For me, I'm a little different. So my profile is a little different because I'm a business owner, but a lot of these concepts apply regardless of what you're trying to do. Business owners out there that are watching this should be about what you actually do, right? I help, let's say you're organic marketing. I help business owners, sell more stuff without paid ads, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something simple like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to scroll down a little more, Jax. So right here, this feature section, I think everyone should have as they're building your personal brand. This is where you can link like blog posts you do, YouTube videos you're doing, podcasts, whatever. You see that I've got some show episodes there. And, that's what I put there for mine. But for you, you can kind of put whatever there. Just think of this as a way to add some more color and flavor to your LinkedIn profile, and kind of breaks up your profile, makes it a little more eye catchy for people looking at your profile, right? This is all about aesthetics. It's all about showing value and giving aesthetics to make people say, oh, I need to look through this person's profile. That's all you're doing here. And if you're an introvert, you got to get out of your shell and do some things. We'll probably talk about that a little bit. Going down here, you want to have some activity so that people know you're not a bot. So commenting on posts, because when someone sends me a connect request, I dig through all your LinkedIn. And if I don't see anything where you're commenting where it's likely you're a real human, you're just going to sit there. And there's like 1,000 profiles or so sitting in my connection request inbox that I'm not sure if you're a bot or not. So if that's you, you should probably start commenting on things so I can see that when I go back through them.
And you have all these like 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. Look, that's ours. But yeah, you're doing repetitive posts. What are your thoughts about doing?
I knew you were going to ask that question. So let me just say this. I just kind of post when I get like a feeling. So I go off my gut on posting. Now, what I will say is on posting, do what you can commit to, because consistency is a key. Don't look at my profile and be like, oh, tomorrow I'm going to have it just like his. It took me, I think I've been on LinkedIn at least a couple of years now. I think 3 or 4 years now. It took a while to build that stuff up, right? And when I started posting, nobody cared. Like nobody liked, or I think I had a couple views. I'd love to say it was my grandma, but she's not on social media. So there's probably a couple strangers that like my stuff or whatever, but nobody looked at my stuff. And it took a while to build up because I didn't know what I was doing. So it took me like 6 months at least before I got my first like or something like that. So it took a while. But for you, whatever you can commit to, I would say at least once a week, if you can, post something just so you kind of keep that consistency up. The more you can post, great. If you have the extra money, there's a number of tools out there. Of course, I can't think of any off the top of my head now that I'm like Hootsuite. I think there's another one that starts with a B, like, Buffer or something like that. There's tools you can use to automate your posting if you want. I don't recommend that starting out. Like, just do free. Do the free version. You don't need to worry about that. But there's really, for me, there's no rhyme or rhythm. If you're a business owner trying to leverage LinkedIn to sell stuff, then you want to have a consistent time whenever you do post, consistent time that your audience knows about. So they'll engage with your post and it'll be seen by more people if you do it that way. But for your person building your personal brand, just do something you can commit to. If that's once a week, if that's once a day, a couple times a day, whatever. Consistency is a key on LinkedIn. That's the most important thing.
100%. Yeah. Glad you brought that up. Okay, the about section. I see some people fill this out, some people don't.
Yours
is really good. A lot of keywords.
Yeah. So this is a whole list of all the places you can see the show. So this besides the headline, I think, in my opinion, is the most critical part of your profile. So headline and the about section. If you can nail those and put a couple photos up, you're going to be in a really good spot. So the about section is like your 90-second elevator pitch, right? If you got in the elevator right now with your boss or potential boss or hiring manager or recruiter, whatever, like how would you show value to them, right? You notice that before Jack clicked on the expand more, the only 2 lines you had seen were the CyberLife TV and then watch the CyberLife TV, right? So you only have really 3 to 4 lines, depending on the device someone's looking at your profile with, to capture their attention. So they click, read more, and look at the rest, right? So you need to show value. So you might say I help organizations secure their data better, and list out a couple of the key skills that you have or some of the measurable results if you have those, right? If you've developed a program that saved, 3 hours of time for developers, list that there, right? Because that shows in a hiring manager, okay, this person can bring value to the organization. That's to get them to then click expand more and read everything else about you, read the fun fact that we talked about earlier or whatever else interesting things. But it's sales, right? This is sales 101. This is marketing 101. If you had a website, there's this concept called above the fold, where you need to capture their attention to get them to do some kind of an action, whether that's scroll more in the website, read more, click a button, whatever. Same concept applies here, where you've only got a couple of lines to capture their attention. So it needs to be value. And I mentioned that personal branding course we've got coming out. Again, pay what you can, the Cyber Life School. I talk about all that. Like I literally break down a LinkedIn profile. I build a profile with you, a fake profile and stuff like that. So definitely check that out, but just show value and then list out skills you have. And that should be plenty in your about section to keyword search and all that stuff for recruiters where they find you. A little less important here, I think, at least experience. So if you don't have experience as a student, you're a student right now, go on a website called Fiverr.com, create a seller profile and sell. So Fiverr.com is the name of it. If you've never heard of it, create a seller profile on there and then offer whatever you're learning in cyber right now or IT or whatever, like offer that as a service on there. Like, hey, I can write a blog post on cybersecurity, right? Just something generic. That part doesn't matter too much. But what you can do then is on your experience, if you have no other experience, is list Fiverr.com or Fiverr as the experience and say freelancer as a job title. And I would actually even go as far as saying cybersecurity freelancer. So it has a little more impact to it. And now you've got a job on your profile here.
Yep.
In addition to that, you actually might find that some of those recruiters and hire managers and stuff are going to like go over to your Fiverr, check it out and pay you to write a blog post for their company. That might actually lead to them creating a job for you where they didn't have one before, right? So the more you put yourself out there, the harder you work, because it's going to take some work. You can't just sit on the couch and hope for the best. It's going to take some work, but the more you do that stuff, the better off you're going to be in your career. Education, things like that. I mean, this stuff's self-explanatory.
Yeah. By the time you get, what I have noticed is by the time you get down to education, if you have a really well written and developed LinkedIn page, most people don't even worry after educate. Like some may care because they're like Ivy Leaguers out there that, and that's okay. That's their thing. But really, it's like nobody really cares. They just want to, if you have enough content and a good layout and you have a great layout. I had so much information before I even made it down to the experience page that told me everything I needed to know about you. So that was awesome.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
mentioned.
I would say real quick, Harvard or Princeton or any other Ivy Leagues, if you do want to sponsor Jackson and I for college degrees, we will not snub our nose at you anymore.
No,
that's the only way.
Yeah. I don't know if I would want to go to because those are full-time, no job, you're going. I've thought about it, but I'm like, oof. But you know what? It'd probably be
pay
nice.
For it. I'll work it out.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to turn down a free degree. I always think about stuff like that. I'm like, if I got a scholarship, that would be awesome. And to be a full-time student, because I go to school full-time, grad school right now, and I work full-time. It's a terrible decision, but
so Grant Thornton, just hint, hint, wink, wink. If you want to really have Jax, share about you guys being so awesome like she did before we jumped on the episode here, maybe consider
sending me to Harvard.
Yeah, send her to Harvard or Princeton or one of those Ivy Leagues.
Yeah, it's only like 6 figures. It's cool, no big deal.
It's all good. Yeah, no big deal.
I'll pay it off for my 20 years that I spent at Grant Thornton.
See, there you go. Yeah.
So funny. So you mentioned something and that I want to talk about because I think this is a critical point because we work in an industry and a community where there are a lot of introverts. I'm an introvert. You're an introvert. I can be extroverted, but I gain my energy from being alone, being quiet, hanging out with my cat over here. So how, because I know for me, my experience, I was terrified when I first started putting myself out there. I actually had Gerald and Neil Bridges. Both are the ones that had pushed me in that kindly, like giving suggestions. You should start a YouTube page or YouTube channel. And I was scared. I was like, oh my gosh, people are going to cackle at me. I don't have anything to share. How do you get around that? You're an introvert. How did you get around that? And then put yourself out there.
Yeah, gosh, it's so uncomfortable. I mean, even these days, right? I mean, I've built so many courses. I've spoken at so many things. I mean, interacted with so many like celebrities, many friends and things like that. I mean, you're never going to get over the feeling of imposter syndrome, contrary to what everyone on social media sits there and says. As an introvert, you're never going to. What I want to encourage you and have you kind of realize as you've gone through your life to this point, as an introvert, you actually have, don't hate me extroverts for this, but you actually have better communication skills than extroverts. The reason why is because typically speaking, introverts are a lot more genuine, and I'm not knocking extroverts out there, right? There's many genuine ones, but they're extroverts, right? They're always trying to be seen, things like that. Introverts, it's more genuine when you talk to people or you share things with people because they know you're uncomfortable. Like they know that you're uncomfortable because you're like, oh, you're an introvert. You're uncomfortable. So they're like more lenient. It's a little more laid back and stuff like that. So I really think you just have to make a decision. Honestly, you have to make a decision. Now, one thing that I do, and people are going to think this is maybe hocus pocus or whatever, but other people are going to say this works well. There was actually someone recently that they were open to this, and it actually helped them pass a cert. I think it was a cert exam. But anyways, I visualize things, right? You know, it's autogenic conditioning. You can look it up. There's books on it, things like that. But basically, when you're going to do something, so for example, let's say that I want to start my personal brand on LinkedIn, and I say, okay, my medium that I want to do is writing because I'm a good writer. I'm more comfortable with that than getting on a video or something like that. So when you write the blog post, like before you ever touch pen to paper or type something, just take some quiet time, like lock yourself in the closet, wherever you can find quiet time at, right? And just close your eyes and literally visualize every step of that, right? So you go, visualize yourself getting on the computer, you're typing this wonderful blog post, you're finding all the research you need. It's quick, it happens easily, right? You type this blog post, you post it out, hundreds of people like it, people are commenting, oh my gosh, great job, Jax, it's phenomenal, things like that, right? Do that and do that for at least a couple of days and keep doing that. And then start working on your blog post, right? And research and all those things like that. Mm-hmm. And it may not work the first time, right? First one, you still might totally screw it all up. Mm-hmm. But that's okay because you become more comfortable. The more you visualize it, the more you can do it. And I did that in the military to get through a lot of training that physically for like a littler guy like myself, I shouldn't have been able to make it through, right? A lot of the things that I did. But because I had a mentor that taught me this stuff a long time ago, I was able to visualize and speak. The other thing is speaking things, right? Your words are extremely powerful. So speak out the things that you want to happen. Another thing that I do personally that I've literally used to pass hundreds of exams and get like anything just about that I want in life is take a piece of paper and a pen, and not your phone or anything, like literally, piece of paper and a pen. You can find it in museums for those new kids out there, but take it and write down what you want to happen as if it's already happened, right? So for example, if I had a job interview, I would write, let's say Jax was the hiring manager and I knew that. I would say, when I went in for the interview today, Jax absolutely loved me. She felt I was a great member of the team. The interview actually didn't feel like an interview. It was more like a conversation with a friend that I've known for years. It was great. We laughed a lot, and she came back with an offer very quickly by the end of this week. And when you do things like that, and I've literally done that to get jobs, I've written it out and it happens. Yep. Things like that, right? So when you're not feeling comfortable as an introvert, these are all the things that I've done myself and proven for many years now that they work. And many people I've shared this with, they've used it and it's worked. So for you, number one, you have to get out of your own way. You're never going to be comfortable. You just have to get used to being uncomfortable because you're destined for more. Whatever you're doing right now, you're destined for more. Mm-hmm. Anytime you feel uncomfortable, that's the universe telling you, look, I've got more for you. Mm-hmm. I'm just waiting for you to like go out and take some action. Mm-hmm. Right. So you've got to get out of your own way there, but just do some of the things I suggested. And I think you'll be in a really good place.
I love the journaling. I go on and off of my journaling. I go on and off of meditate. I do phases. Like when I'm being called to do meditate, I don't know if you know EFT or tapping at all, if you're familiar with the EFT pressure points and stuff. I'm big into that right now, but that's also like helps with blockages. And it's similar to what you're doing with the writing, because you're opening up, you're recognizing what you want, you're visualizing it, and then the action of writing it, not just typing it or texting it, but actually writing it is like making it become real. And that's what I have a vision board up here. I have like sticky notes all around here, all in my, like when people come over, I have given up trying to remove stuff. I have stuff written all over my house in Sharpie on like every mirror. And people are like, what the hell? Yeah, I am wealthy because I had financial blocks, and now I'm good with that. So I keep those up just to remind myself, like stop and celebrate is right here to remind myself to like pick one thing. So I think that is so critical. And I didn't realize that you did that, but that's such a great point. And I hope that if any of the individuals take anything away, they take that away, because you can do that in all aspects.
Yeah, it doesn't cost you anything, right? I mean, a piece of paper and a pen, you can buy that for like $2 at the store. I'll say for those out there that are skeptical on the power of energy, look at cats. And so if you go to a cat and you pet the cat, you'll notice that as you pet it, there's static electricity, right? Transferring from you and the cat. You'll also notice I see your cat in the background too, Jax.
Yeah, he's over here.
He's like, oh, he says something about cats. But if you notice when you pet a cat and you're petting it and stuff like that, right? It gets like excited, happy, it's purring, things like that, right? Because you're transferring energy. That's energy transfer, right, to the cat. That's why cats come around humans, right? That's why they come around us when they want to be petted, because they want to recharge, right? They
Or
want to
food.
recharge that energy.
But yeah.
Yeah, food, things like that. But if you don't believe in the power of energy, it's there, it works, it's all around us, regardless of your religious beliefs. If you're a religious person out there, you have to believe in energy, regardless of your religion. I've looked at a lot of religions, but you have to because of your belief systems. And I've literally looked at, I've so many college courses on like religions around the world and things like that I had to take. But anyways, that's all I got to say. If you don't believe in energy, just look at cats. They're a good example of, you can, the transfer of energy.
Just because I called my cat over here, now he's over here, I had to put myself on mute because he is meowing like crazy. And I'm like, Cooper, you got to go away.
Yeah, it's like, it's time. It's time.
Oh yeah. He's like, you called me. It's my time to be on the show. He's the cutest thing. I love cats. They're super intelligent. Okay. So we've got a few minutes and I want us to pivot on one more question, then do a closeout, because I know that there are individuals that are watching this right now and the idea of getting in front of a camera terrifies them. So for me, for example, in 2020, when I first started working on my branding journey, I did blogs and then it's kind of matured into having a podcast, having this channel. Can you provide some insights, some tips and tricks for individuals that may be wanting to dip their toe into this and start working on their branding? What vectors, what platforms can they start utilizing to get going?
Yeah, I would say for everyone, LinkedIn is a place where you want to start building the brand, just because, that's where the hiring managers, recruiters are. As far as medium, you have to figure out what works for you. Some people love to write. If that's the case, then write articles and post and things for LinkedIn. Some people are really good at, like, if they turn on screen recording and they show you how to write a software program or something, they can do that. So just understand that video doesn't mean you have to be on video. You can screen record things, and free tools out there, Loom, Screencast-O-Matic, which I've actually used for 6-7 years now. I have the paid version, but they have a free version that you can use. Again, start out free, low cost. Don't spend a lot of money on this stuff. If you want to be on camera, then what I suggest, what worked best for me is two main things. Number one is I always explain things like I was talking to someone I knew. That helped me stop being nervous. So like, I've got to be perfect for these strangers. I was like, okay, I'm just talking to someone I know and explaining this thing or these things. The other thing that helped me is understanding that it's a lot easier just to keep going when you mess up and then edit out things than it is to, like, I get flustered if I I got to restart it all. Like, I'll get flustered and I have to just like stop recording for the whole day. Then that's what I found. These days I just keep going and edit stuff out. So when you're going to edit, or when you're filming and you mess up, just pause for like 5-10 seconds, clap your hands right near your microphone. So when you go to edit, it's a lot easier to see that spot in the video, especially if it's a longer video. And then, like, where you screwed up at, and you can just go in and edit things out pretty quickly instead of spending hours and hours trying to listen to a whole whatever, right? You know where the spots are. So for me, and the other thing I'll say there is it's going to take time, right? Like, it took me years to get comfortable to be on camera and do things. And even when I do like television appearances for like news and stuff like that, like, I'd still get nervous, right? Because it's not like Ken in the home studio with a camera. Like, I'm on the TV, right? I'm like the actual TV, not just a streaming TV show. I'm like the real TV, if you will. So you're still going to get nervous, but the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. And you're going to learn things, right? You're going to mess up. Your lighting is going to be bad and whatever. Just understand that it's a journey, and the biggest part of that is just taking the first step, staying consistent with it. And then eventually it's going to pay off for you. And so in so many ways.
I would tell anybody watching this right now, go to my first interview, Lola. I think you were my first one I had on for a guest on the show, because I was doing pre-recordings and those took hours, like 3 to 5 hours to do all of the edits. And I just got to a point where I started doing the live streams. Oh my God, Ken, the first couple of times I did live streams, I would go back and watch my intros and I'm like, my heart's like this. I'm talking like super fast. So yeah, but you, like you said, you get over it. And I will tell you that from putting myself out there and doing these live streams, I've actually found my voice being in the cybersecurity space. And also it's helped me immensely with public speaking, because there's a lot more that goes into preparing these shows than I think what people think. And it really helps you like restructure your mind in different ways to be a better public speaker. It's awesome. Yeah. I love
absolutely,
it.
yeah. The other thing I'll just add there is like udemy.com, not to plug them or anything, right? Because I don't have any
It's a great
financial
one.
interest there, but there's so many low cost courses there around like filming and editing and even public speaking. I mean, there's like, so the trick with Udemy, for those that don't know, if you've never heard of it, you go there, you sign up for an account, you wish list the courses you want, unless they're on sale already. And then you just wait for Monday. Usually on Mondays, that's when they discount everything. So just wait. And then your course you want is like usually 10 or 12 bucks or whatever US. And then you purchase whatever you want. So that's the trick with Udemy that I've learned over the years. But there's so many courses there you can take, and you can take it from people that know what they're doing. And it's so much better as you're going, right? Again, you don't need to spend any money starting out, but like as you're kind of evolving and growing and getting better at things, there's low cost resources out there to do. So I've spent probably, I don't know, a ridiculous amount on self improvement over the years. I don't want to say the numbers because I think it would scare me if I calculated all that up, but just understand that you have to invest in yourself. Your personal brand is investing in yourself. And it's going to, like I said before, it's going to pay off in so many dividends for you. It's the best investment. It's better than any stock you can ever make or that you can ever invest in, cryptocurrency, all that stuff. If you invest in yourself and building your personal brand, you're going to make so much more money than you could in anything else.
100%. All right, we're doing a wrap. But final thoughts before I send you off to the green room, Ken.
Yeah, and before I get over to Mars, I'm just about there too. So what I'll say is the final thought for those that are letting themselves get in their own way is we oftentimes we look at others, right? And we say, oh, I can't do this or that or whatever, right? I didn't have their background or whatever. Understand that everything you need is already within you for whatever you want to do in life. You literally have everything within you already. All you have to do is believe and put action behind it. And that's it. That's literally it. And stay consistent. Of course, you got to put the time in for depending on what it is. But that's all. It's such a simple recipe, but understand that everything comes from within. So you already have everything you need within you already. So believe in yourself, right? Bet on yourself. I think that was Davin Jackson I had on my TV show. He also said that, right? That was his final thought is bet on yourself. Because honestly, like I said, you already have it all within you already. And I had to learn that over the years, that everything I needed was already there.
It's all already within us. I love your mindset. Absolutely. That is awesome, Ken. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. This has been amazing.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. Okay. Bye. I always feel weird when I have to take the guests off screen because I know they're right behind the screen right now and they can still see me. For anybody who's never been in StreamYard, you're just like, okay, I'm going to take you back there. Everyone, wow, that was awesome. Always a great time when the guests come on and can share some real world tangible experiences and then tips and tricks for you all to take away and start applying to your day to day. I hope this was helpful. If it was, make sure to like. And if you haven't already, subscribe and then go ahead and share this episode out with others. There was so many good nuggets of information in here. So for next week, what do we have going on? For anybody that's watching right now, maybe new and just hopped on in the middle, every Thursday I go live from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I either do a one-on-one chat, a fireside, or a panel. And there could be a different type of format, but that's typically the three that we'll do. And it happens every Thursday with usually a typical decided topic a couple of weeks in advance. So next week, who we have and the topic that we're going to be discussing is going to be around effective communication and strategies in the cybersecurity space. If you work in this space, you know that communication sometimes can be lacking. And David Libby is an expert, public relations expert, a startup expert. He helps organizations start and then become acquired very quickly. So I'm really excited about having him on the show. And then last thing before we cut this off, if you guys did not see Alyssa Knight last week for the Female Voice of Technology and Innovation highlight. Highly encourage you to catch that episode. It was phenomenal. We actually ran out of time, and she's going to come back on the show for version 2.0. All right, that's all I've got. Thank you all again. You guys are the reason that I do this. And go ahead and hop over to Simply Cyber. That should have kicked off about 60 seconds ago. I'll see you over there.